Also outside the courthouse, we are hearing now from Alina Habba. She is an attorney and spokeswoman for Donald J. Trump. Let's listen in.
The fact that I am standing here for the third time in 5 months is not a coincidence. This is the Biden political lawfare that we have seen time and time again. It is a deflection from everything that they have done. And if you don't believe me, look at the facts. On March 17th, Hunter accidentally admits that it was his laptop from hell. The next day, DA Alvin Bragg indicts President Trump. June 8th, an FBI document is released showing that the Ukrainians paid the Biden crime family millions and millions of dollars. The next day, the Mar-a-Lago raid and the Mar-a-Lago indictment. Last week, Hunter Biden's sweetheart plea deal fell through when the judge realized it had blanket immunity. The following day, a superseding indictment against Donald Trump. July 31st, Devin Archer goes to testify in front of the House. That was only after they failed to put him in jail prior to the fact. What happens the next day? The January 6th indictment that we're here for today. This is not a coincidence. This is election interference at its finest against the leading candidate right now for president, for either party. President Trump is under siege in a way that we have never seen before. President Trump and his legal team and everyone on his team will continue to fight, not for him, but for the American people. I'll take some questions.
Thank you. I know the president has called this a witch hunt. You just laid out several examples of that. Any other thoughts that the president has communicated to you in terms of why this is going on and then why he calls it a witch hunt?
I think a witch hunt is really the way that anybody should describe this, because it's not something we've seen in our time. This is not even political. This is beyond that. A witch hunt is when you relentlessly attack your opponent, when you relentlessly attack the thing that you are most afraid of. People are afraid of somebody that cannot be bought by Washington. People are afraid of somebody who is independently wealthy and who has given up his good life to fight for this country. And that frightens a lot of politicians who are career politicians, unfortunately, because he'll get back there, and I know he'll be fighting for every one of us so that this doesn't happen to us.
And that is Alina Habba, who is a spokesperson and attorney who represents Donald Trump as a spokesperson. But as you noted, of course, noting this is a political prosecution, she is saying, of Donald Trump, but she did not address any of the specifics that were outlined in this indictment by the special counsel, Jack Smith, or rebutting the conspiracy or obstruction charges. I wanted to bring in our chief Washington correspondent, Major Garrett, as he was listening along as well. Major, your take.
So the judge in this case, when it comes to trial, is not going to be interested in what happened or didn't happen to Hunter Biden. The judge will be interested in the evidence presented that either backs up or doesn't back up the indictment provided by the special counsel, Jack Smith. Now, Alina Habba, speaking on behalf of the former president, wants to make an association in timing between developments regarding Hunter Biden and the former president. That's an interesting story. It has a narrative arc that the former president's campaign believes is persuasive, but it is utterly immaterial in a court of law. And when she talks about the weaponization of the Justice Department, at least in this case, it is worth noting, Nora, as you well know, and as Bob Costa knows from his very thorough reporting, the fact witnesses in this case all worked for former President Trump in one capacity or another, either inside the White House, inside the Trump campaign, within the legal circle that the president assumed or created after he was frustrated by the campaign lawyers that told him he had lost the election fair and square. So the fact witnesses are not part of any cabal seeking to undermine or deflate the political prospects of the former president. They were those hired by him to serve the country or serve his campaign or serve his various legal challenges. One other observation I would make, earlier today, the former president on his social media platform said he is being arrested, quote unquote, he's being processed for challenging a corrupt and stolen election. He is not being processed or arrested for challenging that election. He had every right, as every candidate does, to legally challenge an election. He lost nearly 60 of those challenges in open court, and often the most harsh denunciations of the lack of evidence and lack of standing brought before various courts were written by Trump-appointed judges. He is not being processed or arrested, and this indictment is not about lawful challenging of election. It is about, as Robert has pointed out, a concerted effort, once being told over and over again that the election was lost, that legal challenges have failed, extra legal maneuvers were undertaken to thwart the will of the people.